And away we go. Alright then, so let's look into the podcast group chat with me, Eric, and Risk11 to see what we've sent that we've seen on our pipelines. And okay, just looking here. Oh, there hasn't been anything new since the last time I recorded a podcast episode. Alright then. So with that being said, which is not much to be honest, let's get right into the news. It does take a while to load up. Why running coal plants beyond planned closures is costing hundreds of millions. Let's see. The cost of a Trump administration policy ordered aging coal-fired power plants to stay open has exceeded $200 million, but the exact dollar amount is unknown. Utility ratepayers will likely foot the bill for keeping 5 power plants open past their planned retirement dates. And the costs continue to rise. Starting in May 2025, the US Department of Energy began issuing 90-day emergency orders under Section 202C of the Federal Power Act, which require power plant units to remain available to provide electricity to the grid. Since then, operators of 5 coal plants from Michigan to Washington state have delayed plans to retire the plants and kept staff ready to fire up electricity production. So far, a continuous stream of 90-day orders have been issued when the previous ones expire. The Department of Energy said its decisions to prevent coal plants from shutting down have guaranteed adequate electricity supply and potentially saved lives. It's unclear what bar must be met in order to end. It's unclear what bar must be met in order to end the Department of Energy's declared emergency. The spokesperson said the department will continue to protect energy security for all Americans without mentioning any specific requirements or a timeline. The value of any grid should be measured by how it performs when demand for electricity is at peak levels, not during regular demand periods, when there are oftentimes abundant amounts of excess capacity, the Department of Energy spokesperson told Straight Arrow. As the anniversary of the first order approaches, Straight Arrow contacted operators at all 5 coal plants. The operators were tight-lipped about how much it cost to continue running a power plant that they had previously planned to shut down. Okay, so now I'm not sure what to think of this. On one hand, it's important to keep flows of energy operating. On the other hand, if there are other alternatives to provide energy to Americans or just anyone in any country, then I don't know why you would keep keeping certain power plants running if there are other alternatives that are much more efficient in generating power to local residents as opposed to previous older counterparts. I absolutely understand that you can't just cut the power all at once. Otherwise, everyone's gonna be, oh, where did the power go? Why did the lights go off? And that's not good. Especially if you're in the middle of something, uh, tediously urgent. No, just urgent, and all of a sudden, the power just shut off, and you're just stuck doing whatever you're doing, or at least running around trying to find what the problem is, or trying to get the power back on for yourself. And that's unfortunate. Very, very unfortunate. So anyway, back to the story about coal plants continuing operating. I will say while it is important to keep energy flowing, even if plants are expected to shut down, I will also add on, which is important to note, if there are other alternatives of generating electricity, then why on earth why would you continue running these plants if the amount of energy they're producing isn't as much as what other sources of energy generation are producing. And I'm not going to say that renewables is the way to go. If there are some renewables that are generating more power than coal plants, or even nuclear power producing more energy than coal plants, then go for those solutions. Yeah, so that's all I have to add on to that. How high corn production hides the financial strain of US farms. Troy Uphoff has learned to better space the rows of corn on his Illinois farm and grows shorter saturated stalks that optimize sunlight and the nutrients in the soil. That creates about a 5% yield bump every year, said Uphoff, whose farm sits near Decatur. Uphoff developed these techniques with help from researchers, agricultural businesses, and other farmers. Such innovations are the reason experts told Straight Arrow that the United States grew a record amount of corn last year, even as farmers navigated severe weather and financial headwinds. In the past several years, American farmers have faced prolonged drought, extreme rain, skyrocketing costs, plummeting revenue, and an uneven economy. And through it all, production keeps growing. Not bad. That's actually that's kind of smart. I don't see why all farmers aren't doing this. Of course, not all farmers are going to know this technique, so I can't blame them for not knowing what they weren't able to get access of if they knew about it. It is very important, whatever happens, that you stay very vigilant. Why? That doesn't make any sense. What's important is the farmers, and I said a while ago about farmers. I'm not sure which story it was about the farmers. I will say farmers in general are important, and they will continue to be important in the next few years, or even the next few decades. Without farmers, who else is going to grow the food? Who else is going to provide homes for the animals? And who else would provide the outsourcing of particular materials that comes from said animals? I'm talking the wool from the sheeps, the eggs from the chickens. Uh, I'm not sure what other animals were able to produce. Yes, of course, milk from the cows. Yeah. Well, the point is, farm's important. I don't know who would say farms are not important. Sell the farmland off to make new developments or whatnot. No, that could never be me. I'm more of a garden cities kind of guy. Yeah, I read a Wikipedia article on garden cities, and oh boy, they're pretty good. That sounds quite promising. I don't know why particular communities or countries are even pushing such ideas in recent times. Of course, I know the UK have created garden suburbs or villages in the past under the Tories. Only one of few good things that came out of the Tories, in my opinion, the garden villages and suburbs. Otherwise, yeah, man, I've drifted off on something else. That's for sure. Now, I'm trying to load up Ground News, the platform where I read a lot of the news stories for these episodes. For some reason, the app is not working. Now, as annoying and a bit of a nuisance it is to me, I try to keep myself chill, and you know what? It could be worse. It could be much worse. My phone could not be working at all, or this iPad, which I'm recording this episode on right now. Oh boy, those were the days. And I know Risk knows it damn well as well. Especially that one time we were talking about Gaddafi, and then all of a sudden, the recording just stops. I'll never understand that. Anyway, we live, we learn, we go on with life. So yeah, yeah, I'm trying to get Ground News up, the platform that I'm reading a lot of the news stories from for these episodes. Yeah, it's not working. But thankfully, it's not gonna last forever, so I'm not too mad. It could be worse. It may not be working at all, for all I know. Also, I know this is not something that's newsworthy to people. I remember a while ago, whilst talking with Eric about a couple of people I went to college with. They're going out in the world, they're doing very well for themselves, they're becoming very successful actors, actresses, musicians, and performers on either West End or Broadway. And one of those colleagues of mine that I went to college with uh, has recently, a couple of days ago as of I'm recording this, appeared for a premiere for this show, this BBC show, or multi-part series that he's featured in. He's playing the role of Phil Foden in this series called Dear England. And yeah, looking at the photos from the premiere, looks pretty good. And oh boy, the cast looks amazing. Good for him. Good for him. And I'd say the same for a lot of my former colleagues. Yes, I haven't been on the best of terms with most of them, if not all of them. That does not mean I won't support them and say best of luck to break a leg for all of them and go on, do great things. Because at the end of the day, the world is a very cruel place, and there aren't many people left to help you out. And even if the same set of people that have been by your side for many years, or even dare I say, the ones that even betrayed you, it could be worse, in my opinion. So yeah, that's just me. Now, and again, if at any point I reach the world stage and anyone questions me about how do you go along with people you went to college with, what I just said about what I just said a few moments ago, I'll say something along that kind of manner to them. I'm supportive of my colleagues, even if we're not on the best of terms. That does not mean I won't support them. Yeah, enjoy the moment while it still lasts. Enjoy the moment. We will own nothing and be happy. We shall eat the bugs. Though we bawl on missing out on presenting strictly, I have worked through the 7 stages of grief. Zoe Ball has confirmed she will not be one of the new presenters of Strictly Come Dancing, following an extensive audition process. The BBC is expected to announce who will replace Tess Daly and Claudia Winkleman on the dance competition in the coming weeks, following the pair's departure last year. Discussing the Strictly role on the new episode of her Dig It podcast, Ball said, I didn't get it, but it's okay. Good for you. I would have said the same thing. She told her co-host, Joe Wiley, I'm not sure, it's Joe Whiley. I have worked through the 7 stages of grief and rejection over the last couple of days. Ball is the first presenter who had been linked with the role to publicly confirm she had taken part in the recent screen test held by the BBC and is now out of the running. Obviously, the papers have got wind of certain things. I don't think they've got the full story yet, and I don't think the BBC have confirmed anything as of yet, she noted. In the podcast episode, due to be released later on Tuesday, the presenter said, no, I didn't get it. But I tell you what, if it's who I think has got it, we're in safe hands, and our new hosts are going to be fabulous. I'm so thrilled for them, and hopefully at a later date, we'll be able to talk about them in more detail. You know what? That's the spirit. I like that. And not that it goes back to me being supportive of my former colleagues. it's great to be supportive, even if things don't go your way. It's very important that we stay resilient, we keep moving forward with the path that we're on right now. And who knows? Maybe Zoe Ball could be given a job for something else, which could be much more beneficial in her long-term career than what she could have gotten if she was to be the next host of Strictly Come Dancing. I'm just saying, when one door closes, another door opens. And even though you may not get whatever job you thought you'd hoped to get, who's not to say that the next job that's put in front of you could be as spectacular, if not more, than the last. It's all about timing. And it kind of goes back to the time about the first Incredibles movie by Disney Pixar. Did you know that Jack Black was originally going to voice Syndrome? I didn't know this either until I've heard a social media post about it a couple of weeks ago. And to be honest, I'm actually kind of glad that didn't happen, because I get it. Jack Black is a funny guy and a funny voice and a funny actor as well. However, I'm just not sure if he could have done the job as much as what the voice actor for Syndrome had actually done. And again, the reason why Jack Black wasn't being chosen to be Syndrome was actually on Jack Black's terms. He said he wasn't able to show up for the time of the auditioning for the role. He was too busy with other jobs. Or was it that he didn't want to do it? Well, either way, after he turned down the opportunity to voice Syndrome for the Incredibles movie, he got a role for the movie School of Rock. And we all know how that goes, and the rest is history. So yeah, good for Jack Black. And again, it goes back to the saying, when one door closes, another door opens. Who's not to say that your next opportunity could be bigger than your last? It's all about perspective and the long-term plan. Holiday tech tested. Best gadgets for big trips and stress-free staycations. It's taking a while to load up. Ah, subscription. Oh, bugger off. I was going to read the story, but it's Apple News Plus. I'm going back and forth between Straight Hour News and Apple News, because Ground News platform I'm primarily using it's not working. I think their servers are down at some point. Oh, it's back up again. Yippee! All right then. Oh, thank goodness. Thank you, Jesus. TikTok launches £3.99 subscriptions for no ads in UK. Okay then. From Monday, TikTok introduced an ad-free subscription service for British users aged 18 and older, priced at £3.99 per month. The consent or pay model responds to the General Data Protection Regulation, GDPR, and other privacy laws that forbid companies from harvesting personal data from advertising without consent. Explicit consent. TikTok's managing director, Chris Boga. Why is that so funny? Why? Anyway. Right, okay, Boga. Uh, I'm not making fun of the person, it just caught me off guard. Boga. It caught me off guard so much. Anyway, that's just me. Chris Boga, TikTok's managing director, stated the option provides greater control over their experience, ensuring the platform continues delivering economic impact for British businesses. Social media expert Matt Navarra described the shift as putting a monthly price on stepping outside of the ad targeting machine. noting Meta has implemented similar subscriptions. Rolling out over the coming months, the tier removes company-delivered ads but excludes sponsored content marked #ad, with no equivalent subscription yet available for English-speaking users. Now, firstly, I will say, I knew it will come to a point when social media platforms are going to provide a subscription plan for users to not be shown, well, or in this, at least in TikTok's case, company push ads, uh, yet excludes sponsored content that is marked with #ad. Now, of course, well, such an idea like this was inevitable. It was going to happen at some point. And for this project of relaunching this long-term roadmap for Sagomatic, one of these many projects being the relaunch of the Byte app that me and Shadowminer have been working on, and also Eric, although I'm not sure he's in the loop of what we're doing. However, he has contributed parts, he has contributed a sufficient amount, so I can't ignore what he has helped out with, Eric. I was also thinking, for when Byte relaunches, to also have a subscription for users to not be shown adverts of any kind. What I hadn't thought about at the time, which now I'm considering, is now also including sponsored content. That's not to say that people can't make money on social media. You gotta make a living, and I'm all for that. At the same time, I know users are fussed, they are tired and absolutely annoyed with adverts popping up all over the place right in their faces. And I understand that. I also understand that there are users on social media that try to make a living, try to get the bank, get the money back, and just cover whatever expenses they have. And I'm not saying this is final for Relaunch Bytes. This is just an idea that's just popped about in my head for a while, and especially with this story coming up with TikTok launching a no ad subscription, I also have been thinking about possibly considering providing a no advert subscription for users on Relaunch Byte, which will also include sponsored content, whether or not they have been marked with #ad. Again, that's just me. And I know that not everyone that's going to be on Relaunch Byte would be on board with that idea. However, I will say, just so people know that, for the sake of longevity and sustainability, it's not easy being a startup. It is also not easy running an app that requires a server to keep operations flowing and users using the platform all at one time. And if showing adverts on a platform is the way to cover costs for servers to operate on said app, so be it. What I will point out is I'm not going to just push ads into people's faces. If people are wanting to watch an advert, again, not that anyone would, the point I'm making is there's another idea for Relaunch Byte. If there's premium features that you could only access if you paid for a particular subscription to access premium features, what if instead of paying in-app purchases for these premium features on a platform, you watch an you watch a short advert to be given 1 hour of using premium features at a time. Again, this is just an idea I have. It's not concrete or final. I do believe it's the way to go, and not just for maintaining the cost of running the servers for an app, if any app, it is also allowing people that don't have the this disposable income to buy premium subscriptions to still have access to premium subscriptions just for a limited time if people are running low on cash, which is understandable, yet I will say there are so many opportunities to make money, I don't see what the excuse is. And again, I'm not saying people who are homeless or people that's of the working class get what they deserve. No, I'm not saying that. I don't know why I don't know why I would think that I would say that. Yes, here we are. Unfortunately, and I know this is going off topic with TikTok launching this no ads subscriptions, money is what makes the world go round. If there's any other way to live life without using money, that'd be great. However, such a universe does not exist. So the universe we're in right now is the best we got. So yeah, uh, I don't expect anyone to agree with anything I just said. Nonetheless, that is the world we live in. If there's any way to change that, I'm all ears. I like to hear what these ideas are. Until then, make best of what world we live in right now and try and make sure that you're smart with your money and have enough financial intelligence so whatever economic crisis we're in right now, you're at least in the clear. Oh yes, absolutely. So before I end off on TikTok launching no ad subscriptions, I'm not saying TikTok is on the high end or TikTok is saving themselves from any irrelevancy. Actually, no, no, scratch that. I'm certainly not saying that TikTok are doing this to ensure that their relevancy continues to grow or to ensure that profit margins are sustainable and sufficiently surplus. I know there will come a time eventually, like right now with TikTok, where there comes a subscription that you would pay to ensure that no form of company push adverts are pushed towards your face, with the exception of sponsored content, which, in my opinion, should be included in the no ad subscription, even if it means users aren't going to get the or if and even though or if knowing that users aren't going to be making as much money if there aren't users that's going to be push sponsored content, maybe users can make that money back in another way. I'm not saying I have an idea for that, yet somehow eventually I will. Not sure how long that will take. It's good to juggle ideas around and consider alternatives to what could be, if any. More than 100 Labour MPs sign a letter of support for Starmer. Wow. Okay then. More than 100 Labour MPs have signed a letter of support for Kier Starmer amid rising calls for him to quit. It comes after more than 80 MPs called on the Prime Minister to resign, while 3 ministers quit and urged Starmer to set out a timetable for his departure. According to The Guardian, the statement said, "Last week, we had a devastatingly tough set of election results. It shows we have a hard job ahead to win back trust from the electorate. That job needs to start today, with all of us working together to deliver the change the country needs. We must focus on that. This is no time for a leadership contest." The party has been in turmoil after voters gave it a beating in the elections in England, Wales, and Scotland last week. Rebellious MPs claim this proves the electorate clearly do not want Starmer to stay in office. However, the Prime Minister has insisted he will not walk away from office. He told his cabinet this morning the Labour Party has a process for challenging a leader, and that has not been triggered. The only way for MPs to trigger a leadership contest is for 20% of the parliamentary Labour Party to back a clear challenger. That works out to 81 MPs. Not one in Parliament has yet challenged the Prime Minister, even though his expected rivals, including Health Secretary Wes Streeting, are circling. You know, I have heard a lot about Kier Starmer, in whether he will resign, and if Ed was going to challenge him. From what I'm getting from this is, yes, Labour MPs are outraged. They are frustrated with the results they're getting and what Kier Starmer has been doing thus far as leader of the Labour Party, and especially leading the current UK government. What it looks like to me is, as frustrated these Labour MPs are, I don't think they're following the appropriate protocol properly. If these Labour MPs want to challenge Keir Starmer, and there are Labour MPs that really want another person in the Labour Party in charge of the party to govern the UK, surely these Labour MPs would have gathered whatever information they have on each other to say, oh, this Labour MP would be great to challenge Keir Starmer, or maybe that Labour MP could challenge Keir Starmer, or maybe that woman can challenge Keir Starmer. She'll be great for the job. And yes, even though people are saying that people are pointing towards Wes Streeting and Angela Rayner to be the next Labour leader, how many Labour MPs have I heard saying, I nominate Angela Rayner or I nominate Wes Streeting to challenge Keir Starmer for the Labour leadership? All I'm hearing is, Keir Starmer, resign now, make someone else leader of the Labour Party. Yet I'm not hearing how many Labour MPs want another Labour MP to be the next Labour leader. And I'm not even mentioning the elephant in the room that people in the UK are pointing to. Andy Burnham, current Mayor of Greater Manchester, given the works he's doing thus far in Greater Manchester, people are saying, why not make Andy Burnham leader of the Labour Party? And I think a lot of people that both support Labour and people that support the Greens that actually came out of the Greens because they're disappointed what Labour have done thus far in government. Andy Burnham is not an MP. He has to someone that has a Labour seat, someone that is currently a Labour MP, has to stand down, resign, or at least step down as MP, so that a by-election could be triggered in that constituency. Andy Burnham stands in that constituency for Labour, and in the event Labour wins that by-election with Andy Burnham, and then, eventually, all of the existing Labour MPs that are currently in the Houses of Commons can now say, Andy Burnham would be great for the job. The thing is, the last time a by-election was triggered, Andy Burnham was considering stepping down as Mayor of Greater Manchester to stand in the by-election for Gorton and Denton. However, in a vote 8-1 against Andy Burnham to run for Labour in the Gorton and Denton by-election, and someone else ran instead. And the result of the Gorton and Denton by-election, the Greens won it, which shows that not just that Labour are unpopular as it is now, the Greens are on the rise. So even if Labour MPs do volunteer to step down for themselves so they can make way for Andy Burnham to run in a local by-election, which he needs to win, to become the MP of that particular constituency in order for him to contest in the Labour leadership to replace Keir Starmer to lead the UK government. That's the issue right now. There is one guy in the Labour Party that can certainly do, well, certainly a better job than what Starmer is doing. However, Andy Burnham needs to be an MP first, which he is not. He is too busy doing whatever he's doing as mayor of Greater Manchester, and not. And to be honest, I know this is going to be controversial for anyone on any side of the spectrum. I think Andy Burnham is doing quite a decent job in Greater Manchester. There are a few things that needs improving, like homelessness. Uh, I was going to say public transit, however, he's doing pretty well on that, in my opinion. Yeah, I mean that's just one example. There's others I can think of, but I just can't right now for some reason. However, there's always improvements. However, nonetheless, Andy Burnham, in my opinion, is doing pretty well, quite decently in Greater Manchester. No wonder people want him to be Labour leader. Either way, that's how it is. That's how it goes. And that is it for the episode.